Darium and I have been walking for 5 minutes non-stop since we left the ballroom. I had no idea where he was taking us, and he was refusing to tell me. How far do we need to go? My feet hurt. Closing the distance between us, Darium wrapped his hand around my waist and drew me closer. I took a deep intake as my body collided against his powerful frame. My face grew crimson as my hands fell to rest on his chest, and I slowly raised my eyes to meet his as he bent to pick me up like I weighed nothing. Darium's lips curled up when he stared down at me. It's amazing how flustered you still get with just a little touch like this. I'm not flustered. I tried to get down from his arms, but that only led to him tightening his hold on me. Put me down, Darium, I whispered louder, eyes wide. He did not listen to a word I said. Instead he smiles, pulling me even closer to his chest. You said your feet hurt, right? He questioned me, getting a reluctant nod from me. Then quick complaining, Atlardi. We are almost there. I pulled in a sharp breath to say something when he leaned down, planting a soft kiss on my forehead. Darium carried on walking, still a considerable distance away from the palace, stopping at a fountain that I hadn't seen before. He dropped me to my feet gently, his gaze not wavering from me. It's a pool-like fountain with the water following a path, which I'm guessing leads towards a lake, creating a lovely and breathtaking view. It was also surrounded by little trees and flowers of different kinds and colors, enhancing its beauty, and I couldn't help but be in awe at how amazing it looked. It had taken quite some time to construct, but I'm glad I did it. It's truly beautiful, Darium. I stated it out loud, with a voice full of honesty, while still enchanted by the sight in front of me. I know, Atlardi. But this is not what I want to show you. I turned to look at him with a creased brow, confused. This is what I want you to see. He said it again, stepping aside for me to take in the view. And once again, a gasp left my lips as I was left enthralled by the sight in front of me. The moon's white light illuminated the night's darkness and lit up the atmosphere's golden hue. As Darium and I moved further into the grass, I turned to look about when I noticed that the fireflies were slowly beginning to emerge from their slumber. The number of yellow lights that dimmed and then re-emerged in the night increased with each step we made. I was in awe of the stunning scene and could only stare. I had never anticipated witnessing such a breathtaking scene before. With a huge smile splattered across my face, I turned my head back to Darium to find him already looking at me, his head tilted to the side, taking in my every reaction. And when he saw the smile on my face, his lips stretched in a smile of his own, pleased at my reaction. How long did you plan this? I asked breathlessly, still in awe. I would say 5 days. You will be surprised how easy it is to get things done when you happen to be a king. He sassed, getting a light slap on his chest. And Darium bursts out laughing. My attention drifted back to the view in front of me as he spoke again. In all honesty, I just wanted to do something nice for you. Our eyes met again, and this time he closed the gaps between us, leaning closer as he continued to speak. I wanted to do something special to show how much you mean to me. I thought of getting you the most expensive jewelry, but I know you aren't the type to be moved by such things. And would have clearly scolded me, saying you have more than enough jewelry to last a lifetime. He joked, causing me to laugh. I know something like this was actually going to be a good memory for you, and that is what I wish for you to have. Only good memories, along with our children. I felt a skip in my heartbeat as he moved closer to me. Darium, I whispered, when our foreheads touched. I peered into Darium's distinctive eyes, which appeared to have grown darker as he looked at me. We were now encircled by fireflies as we stood in the middle of the grass. Along with the crickets, a soft sound of water flowing through the fountain filled the room. Darium leaned down until our noses touched before having his forehead touched over mine. We maintained unwavering eye contact with one another. I was so enthralled at the time that I thought I would melt away right there. Darium had held me firmly in his arms, and I could feel my body heating up. He still had me by the waist while holding onto my lower face with one hand and lowered his lips to mine with the other. When I felt his lips on mine, I started to melt even more. I put my palm over Darium's chest as his grasp on me grew more possessive as he got hold of my lower lips and began slowly nibbling at them. My body felt weak. Darium, I called out his name, moaning my words between the gap that he gave me. Darium tilted his head, removing the pin holding my bun, and my hair fell to my back with my crown striking the ground. A faint gasp escaped my lips as a result of his lips biting into my bottom lips. When he held me and stroked me, he was gentle. My hands simply squeezed between us as his hand on my waist drew me in. I forced him to break apart as I was getting out of breath in order to get the air I had been craving for a while. While still in Darium's arms, I was still panting, and a bubble of butterflies started to grow in the pit of my stomach. He gently caressed the area next to my lips while yanking a strand of my hair from behind my ear, before lifting my face up by the chin. I looked into his beautiful eyes, which called me towards him, and I couldn't help but gulp. "Don't you think we should return to the celebration?" Darium's hand around my waist only tightened as he pulled me up and close to him. I doubt anyone would miss us. He trailed his finger from my chest upward, and I pulled in a quick breath at his touch. Despite the heavy clothing I had on, I could still feel his touch. I gulped as his finger slowly traced my skin below my chin. "Anyone could see us." I almost whispered those words as I could feel myself become weak under his gaze. "Don't worry, Letitia. No one would dare come here." His hand came behind my head, and he pulled me into another kiss. This time, it was more feverish than the previous one. My bottom lip was briefly touched by Darium's tongue as it slowly moved into the warm recess of my mouth. With me softly moaning, he reached behind himself to place his hand on my neck and give me the most passionate kiss of his life. As Darium made his attempts and his tongue pressed against mine, I felt a tingling sensation across my entire body. I felt as though my urge for him to be nearer to me increased because he barely gave me a chance to breathe. I could hear my heartbeat in my ear like loud drums, and I wanted to go far away and jump into the fountains to release the tension that was slowly building up with every nip and bite that he rained on my soft lips. "Darium, please," I said, panting for more air. Darium cupped my face in his palms and towered over me with desire thick in his eyes. "I want you, Letitia." His thumb brushed my lower lips, and I inhaled at his touch. "I miss the feel of being in you." I was already panting when I locked eyes with him. I had also missed the feel of him against my skin and our lovemaking, and I so desperately needed him as well. He gently laid us on the grass, with him hovering on top of me, and he pushed his hips against my clothed core.
Darium's POV.
Letitia and I had been awake hours ago, but we still lay in bed, lips locked together, making up for the last 3 months. The kiss was feverish and demanding. My hand wrapped around her waist, and hers rested on my chest, and her body, which was on mine, grinded on me as I gave her lips a few tugs. My hand slowly leaves her waist, making its way to her thigh, which was bare with no clothes on. After all, the night had been filled with lots of pleasure. "Darium," Letitia sighs, and she kisses me, licking her way into my mouth without ceasing the movement of her hips. "Do you think you can take me again?" I ask her gently, breaking the kiss and staring into her eyes to see if she truly could or not. Though I doubt we would be able to go yet another round. Despite wanting so badly to hear her cries and moans as I pondered her, I had only an hour to get ready for the day. "I don't think I can, I'm too sore right now." She says this, biting her lips softly. "I guess I did tire you out." Her lips raised in a smirk before she spoke. "That you did." Her smile stretched even more. "You are like an unquenchable beast." "Only for you, Edlar. Only for you." I tell her. "Sorry if I went too hard on you." She laughs again. I didn't mind at all. She leans in, pecking my lips. "Besides, I like it when you do go hard." I feel my eyes darken at her words, and the lust is clearly visible in them. I planted my hands on her ass, pulling her closer to me, and she sighed in contentment, kissing me back. My tongue enters her mouth, lazily thrusting in and out, stroking hers while my hands slowly make their way up to her stomach. Just because I can't fuck you now doesn't mean we can't do other things. Getting out of bed and making my way to the bathing chamber. I got everything ready for our bath in no time before returning back to the room, where Letitia remained on the bed, her gaze out in the window, watching the sun rise. I smiled at how beautiful she looked, making my way back to the bed, and her attention shifted back towards me, an enchanting smile gracing her face. Without saying anything, I gently picked her up, making our way to the bathing chamber. The door, which was already opened, made it easy for me to slide right in, and I placed her gently on the tub. Letitia's eyes closed at the feel of the water against her skin, and she let out a sigh of contentment, no doubt pleased at how soothing it was against her skin. And I was certain it would help with her soreness. I had also poured scented oil into the water to help her relax more, and I was glad it was working. I climbed into the tub, sitting behind her with her back leaning against her front. Her eyes, which had still been closed, opened when my hands, now lathered with soap, ran through her wet skin, causing her to let out yet another sigh of relief. It was quiet as we both had our bath, yet at the same time pleasing and nice. Once we were done with our bath, I got to my feet, helping Letitia up as well, and we both made our way back to the room. I hurriedly changed into a set of comfortable, clean clothes, as Letitia did the same. I hate not being able to have breakfast with you, I sighed, grabbing a hold of her hand once we were fully clothed. I hate it too, but I know you happen to be busy at the moment, so it's okay, I guess. She says this with a smile across her face. I promised to make it by lunch, I said. How about you? I and the twins have a bit of panic. I doubt they have been out of the palace since they were born. That isn't such a bad idea, Letitia replies, chuckling. Then it's settled then. I leaned down, pecking her lips. See you later by noon. Yes, I will have everything ready by then. She stated that her eyes sparkled with excitement. I gave her lips one more peck before making my way out of our chamber, towards the direction of my chancery. I had no idea what Devlin had to say, but he had requested we talk this morning as he wished to return to Hades by the evening. I was certain that what he had to say had everything to do with what transpired between him and Leandros, as well as whatever seemed to be troubling him. I pulled open the door to my chancery, half expecting to see Devlin, but was surprised when I saw Neith standing there with her hands crossed to her chest and her brows furrowed. Neithotep, I called out after coming out of my shock. Brother, she answered emotionless, and I began to wonder what I could have possibly done to anger her, warranting the glare in her eyes. To what do I hold this pleasure of seeing your face this early in the morning? I asked with a raised eyebrow, which seemed to intensify the glare on her face. I had no idea you had a lack of trust in me. My brows creased together, confused as to what she meant. I believe you have lost me with your words. What do you mean? And how exactly did you come to such a ridiculous conclusion? I thought we both told each other everything, but apparently, it doesn't seem that way with you. She replied, still glaring at me, her arms still folded across her chest, as we both engaged in a staring contest. You've got to make yourself clear, sister. What exactly have I kept from you? I questioned. You are very well acquainted with the affairs of the kingdom, and more so than necessary. And you are given every knowledge as to the things that happen in the palace, which are required of you to know. So what seems to be the problem? Pray tell me why you feel I don't trust you when you know that to be anything but true. Well, I find that hard to believe, Neith retorted, and I sighed a bit frustrated. I really have no idea what the issue is about, Neithotep. But can we do this another time? I'm afraid I have other matters to attend to with King Devlin. If we can talk about this later in the evening. Sure, of course. Since what I have to say seems to be of less importance to you. I sighed in resignation when I took in the heated look on her face, and I began to wonder what exactly was wrong. Neithotep, I called out as I tried to hold onto her arms, but she pulled away, still giving me a hard glare. What do you wish to know? I asked her finally, after some minutes had passed in silence. I wasn't sure what all this was, but if this was going to end it, then I would gladly take it. The heavens know I don't have the time to deal with her tantrums. Well, she started, and her gaze began to soften. About yesterday, why didn't you tell me you and Letitia had brought fake babies to the celebration and that the twins were tucked away up in the nursery? I sighed, staring at her blankly. Was this truly what was aggravating her, that she couldn't wait hours to ask? Letitia. Before I got the chance to complete my words, a knock resonated from outside the door, and I let out a coming in, watching as it opened with Devlin walking in. The young king takes in the sight before him with a puzzled look, and was curious to know what had brought my sister here so early in the morning. I hope I'm not disturbing anything. No, not at all, I said, turning to give Neith a stern look. We will talk about this later, I said, leaving no room for argument. Her eyes hardened, but she didn't say anything as she bowed at Devlin, making her way to the door, which was still open. But before she could fully step out, a loud scream pierced through the walls of the palace. And my heart quickened at the familiar voice of Letitia as I raced past Neith and Devlin, making my way upstairs to a more terrified sight of hers.
Letitia's POV.
The heavens, milady. Kiva screeched out, taking in the sight of my corset, and I pretended not to see it, keeping my gaze towards the window. Had milady been in a fit of war? She questioned, looking more perplexed. I was certain she didn't want an answer to that question of hers. The event of last night ran through my mind, and I thought about how magical it felt to be surrounded by gleaming fireflies while listening to the calm sound of the water flowing as Darium, and I got lost in the blissful pleasure our bodies brought. I had been so caught up with the feel of him that I didn't notice the reason why I couldn't feel my once restricted air being released. I had failed to notice that Darium had tore through the corset. It was still a mystery to me how he was able to do that, yet at the same time, I couldn't help but be impressed. There is no need to throw a fit, Kiva. It's not like I would wear it again. Last night's torture was clearly more than enough. But milady, she began before cutting herself off, still looking bewildered as she stared at the torn corset. Some things are best left unknown. It keeps the mind from getting scared. I stood from the bed, walking in her direction, before tapping on her shoulder as I walked past her and out of my chamber. I still felt a bit of soreness as I walked, though the Dariums and my bath were able to soothe some of it and make it more bearable. I couldn't recall how many times he had taken me last night. After our escapade outside the premises of the palace, Darium had carried me bridal style back to our chamber, and I remember struggling to get back the blush that had already crept up my face when we passed the guards stationed in the hallway. Darium had relieved them of their duty for the night, leaving only Gareth and the female warrior as we made our way to our chamber. He had placed me gently on the bed before going to check in on the twins to make sure they were okay. When he had returned, I was fully out of my dress, and that was when I was able to foresee the damage done to the corset. After placing it aside, I made an attempt to change into my nightwear, but Darium seemed to have other thoughts in mind. One that brought about a series of pleasurable moments, leaving me shaken underneath him. Letting out a deep breath, I made my way into the twins' nursery, and a smile stretched across my face when I saw Alvar holding on to Hasoslava. His eyes held adoration as he looked down at her, while hers held nothing but curiosity. Arsenio, on the other hand, was being attended to by his nursemaid, who held onto the young prince as he let out a cute yawn, having just woken up from his sleep. Alvar, upon noticing my presence, lifted up his head to gaze at me, and I watched as a beautiful smile adorned his handsome face and his little dimples were visible on each side of his cheeks. "Mother!" he calls out, his voice filled with excitement, causing me to laugh. "My beautiful boy," I say, walking over to take a seat beside him, my gaze on my daughter, who still had her eye on him. "She has your hair, mother," Alvar stated, a look of fascination plastering across his face as he stared down at the little princess in his hold. "That, she does. They both do." "What are their given names, mother?" he asked, curiously shifting his gaze from the princess to her brother. I smiled at this, running my hands softly through his hair as I spoke. The process is called Arsenio Denarius Sviatoslavic, while his sister is called Hasoslava Rhea Sviatoslavic. "Rhea," Alvar said, and his eyes sparkled with excitement. "It is truly a perfect fit for her, an angel blessed by the heavens." To say I was surprised would be an understatement. I stared at the young boy in front of me, and I couldn't be more proud. The fact that he had only turned 7 just a few months ago, and yet he seemed so knowledgeable and well-educated, it clearly shows that Zane had done really well with him. I had no doubt that once he was able to regain his place as the king of Hyatia, he would no doubt make a fine king. I could see how much potential he had. He truly was going to be a blessing to his people. Alvar's voice had me snapping out of my thoughts, and I gazed down lovingly at him. I wish I had brought my drawing board along with me. I could have no doubt drawn the prince and princess. He says a pout adorned his cute face. His words had me remembering the gift I had given him a few days ago. I had heard about his visit to Nisha and had sought out drawing material, knowing fully well how much he loved to draw. I think I have that covered for you, love, I said, getting to my feet before making my way out of the nursery and back to my chamber. My eyes wandered around the room, finding no sight of Kiva or my corset and dress of yesterday. A series of giggles left my lips as I thought back to her appalled face a moment ago. She really can be amusing without trying to. Making my way to the closet where I had kept the material, my gaze drifted to a tray of food on the table close to the bed, and I wondered if Kiva had been the one to put it there. I took out the drawing material, staring down at it, knowing very well how Alvar would be pleased by this. Placing the material on the bed, I walked over to where the tray of food lay, taking off the lid that covered the plate, and I felt the color drain from me as a loud scream left my lips when I caught sight of what was underneath it. My body trembles in horror, and I struggle to calm my nerves, all the while taking in the hideous sight in front of me. On the plate was the bloodied side of a bird whose neck seemed to have been squashed before its stomach was cut open, all its organs gushing out. I struggled to fight back the tears as my hand continued to shake like a leaf. With a choked breath, my gaze landed on a folded piece of paper beside the sickening view. I tried to steady my hand as I took the paper, pulling it open. My eyes swept through the word written in what seemed to be blood, and my face grew pale as terror consumed me. By the sky, sea, and earth. Any delight you find will be put out by me as I follow you invisibly. Your remaining days on earth will be an orchestra of suffering. I'll cut you open and make you squirm like a child in a puddle of mud. I'll create a drum out of your guts and make you dance while you play it. But before I do that, I'll steal what was once yours and destroy it completely, leaving you without a mother or sibling in addition to being fatherless. After all, even those who were created can be unmade, LL. The door banged open, and with blurry eyes, I turned to see Darium racing towards me with a worry-stricken face. "Letitia!" he called out, cupping my cheeks. His eyes breezed through my body for any sign of injury before letting out a sigh of relief. "The heavens!" Neith gasped, taking in the sight of the dead bird on the plate. Her hands clapped to her mouth. And this caused Darium to look towards the tray. His eyes widened in shock, but only for a brief moment, as it was soon replaced by anger. He returned his gaze to me, taking in my still shaken form, and his jaw clenched. His gaze softened a bit as he pulled me into a hug, running his hand up and down my body in a soothing manner. "Get rid of it!" Devlin, who was also present, commanded the guards next to him. And immediately the man sprung into action, getting rid of the dead bird. I pulled away from Darium, handing him the letter with shaken arms. He took it from my hand, reading through the content there, and I could see the fury in his eyes as he handed it to Devlin, who had a look of shock before it was replaced by guilt. "Is it true?" My anxiety rose to a new level. I was afraid every word written might be real. "I'm afraid it happens to be so." Devlin said this and pursed his lips, looking at me. I hadn't seen them after the takeover and had thought nothing of it. You know how Afra is, she would never accept defeat, so I thought maybe she was just waiting it out until she swallowed her pride and begged for mercy. I didn't think such a thing could possibly befall them. My stomach knotted heavily at the thought of them being in a worse situation than death. "We need to search for them, Devlin. Clearly, whoever sent this has them. This was clearly a threat to you. For them to be able to do this means they are closer than we thought." Darium had both his fists clenched. "I still don't understand how they keep getting past the guards. I don't think it's safe staying here, at least for now." Devlin inputs. "We need to get you out of here while we find out the culprit behind this." "You can't be serious. You don't expect me to run. This might be exactly what they want." "I think your brother is right, Letitia. We need to keep you and our children safe." Darium. "I think it's best you return to Hades with your brother, at least for the time being." "But..." "Please, Letitia. It might seem drastic, but I prefer you being far away from here than anywhere near this sick bastard." I gulped, fighting back the tears. I hated the thought of leaving and running away, but I didn't want the twins in my arms to be hurt, and I couldn't bear to see them hurt. Fine, I said, getting a sigh of relief from both Darium and Devlin. What about Mother and Katrona? I questioned myself worriedly. I will have my men search for them. Hopefully we might get news about their captor. Neith, who had been quiet, cleared her throat, causing our attention to shift to her. If you don't mind me asking, why exactly is this any of our business? Why should we care if Aphra and Katrona are both in purgatory, going through the worst torment? It's nothing more than their karma coming back to bite them in a more pleasing way. At least for us. Neithotep. Darium called out, giving her a hard glare and getting a scoff in return. I'm just stating with facts. She says it with a shrug. I mean, we should be celebrating instead of looking like the world is about to end. Isn't that right, Letitia? They were anything but pleasing and merely a thorn in your back. It's still not an excuse for them having to go through such a mortifying and agonizing ordeal. Devlin replies in my stead, seeing as I remained speechless at her word. I understand that something had transpired between the two, but it was still not enough reason for her to be this unsympathetic. You both truly seem to confuse me. Her brows creased as her eyes wandered from mine to Devlin. So it's okay having your father killed, but them going through such a thing makes your heart ache? She questioned, raising a brow. That is definitely different. I had no choice but to put an end to Leandros, but no one should go through such a thing. Especially Katrona. She might be spoiled and sometimes self-centered, but that doesn't mean she deserves this. Then you most certainly need to get your priorities straight. The likes of Aphra and Katrona don't deserve your mercy. Letitia, dear. In all honesty, I wish for nothing more than your happiness. But I'm just going to lay it out to you, I for one couldn't care less if they rot in hell. Neith says, her voice void of any emotion. Good luck finding them. She gives Devlin a stern look before leaving the room.